How to speak English without fear. Hello, and welcome to Speak English Anywhere. Do you want to speak English more confidently? Maybe you understand English when you listen, but when you try to speak, you suddenly feel nervous. Maybe you're afraid of making mistakes. Maybe you're worried about your pronunciation, or maybe you don't know what to say. If you feel this way, you're not alone. Many English learners are afraid to speak, even when they know quite a lot of English. But speaking English is not about being perfect. It's about communicating, expressing your ideas, and becoming more comfortable little by little. In today's episode, we're going to talk about how to speak English without fear. We'll look at different situations that English learners often experience, and we'll talk about how to become more confident. This episode can also help you improve your listening, speaking, and reading skills. So relax, listen carefully, and let's begin. Topic 1. Why are we afraid of speaking English? I think one of the biggest problems for English learners is fear. We know some English. We understand some English. We may even know a lot of vocabulary and grammar. But when someone asks us a question in English, we suddenly become quiet. Why does this happen? I think one reason is that we are afraid of making mistakes. We may think, what if I say the wrong word? What if my grammar is wrong? What if my pronunciation sounds strange? What if the other person laughs at me? These thoughts can make speaking very difficult. But here's something important to remember. Making mistakes does not mean you're bad at English. It means you are learning. Think about children learning their first language. They make mistakes all the time. They say words incorrectly. They use the wrong grammar. But they don't stop talking. They keep trying. That's how they learn. As adults, we sometimes become too worried about being correct. We want to say everything perfectly before we open our mouths. But that's not how language learning works. You need to make mistakes. You need to try. You need to speak, and then you can improve. Another reason we are afraid is that we compare ourselves with other people. Maybe someone speaks English very well. Maybe their pronunciation is beautiful. Maybe they can speak quickly and confidently. Then we look at ourselves and think, I'll never speak like that. But you don't need to speak like that person. You have your own learning journey. Maybe that person has been studying English for 10 years. Maybe you have been studying for 1 year. It's not a fair comparison. Instead of comparing yourself with other people, compare yourself with your past self. Are you better than you were 6 months ago? Can you understand more? Can you say more? Can you have longer conversations? If the answer is yes, you're making progress, and that's what matters. Topic 2. You don't need perfect English. Another important thing is understanding what good English really means. Many learners think good English means perfect grammar, a perfect accent, and difficult vocabulary. But I don't think that's true. Good English means you can communicate your ideas clearly. Imagine someone says, I go to market yesterday. The grammar isn't correct. The better sentence is, I went to the market yesterday. But if the other person understands what you mean, communication has happened. Of course, you should learn the correct grammar, but you don't need to wait until your grammar is perfect before you speak. If you wait for perfection, you may never start. There will always be another grammar rule to learn. There will always be another word you don't know. There will always be something you can improve. Even advanced speakers make mistakes. Sometimes native speakers make mistakes too. So don't make perfection your goal. Make communication your goal. You want to be able to express yourself. You want to be able to ask questions. You want to understand other people. You want to share your thoughts. That's what language is for. And as you continue speaking, your grammar will naturally become better. Your vocabulary will grow. Your pronunciation will improve. Your confidence will increase. but you have to start somewhere. Topic 3. Stop worrying about your accent. Let's talk about pronunciation and accents. Many English learners worry about their accent. They think they need to sound exactly like an American, British, or Australian speaker. But you don't need to remove your accent completely. An accent is a natural part of speaking a language. People from different countries speak English differently. Even native English speakers have different accents. Someone from London doesn't sound exactly like someone from New York. Someone from Australia doesn't sound exactly like someone from Canada. And that's completely normal. The most important thing is being understandable. If people can understand you, your accent is not a problem. Of course, pronunciation is important. You should try to pronounce words clearly. You should listen carefully to native speakers. You should notice how they pronounce words. But don't become obsessed with sounding exactly like them. Your goal should be clear communication. You can have your own accent and still speak beautiful English. In fact, many people around the world speak English with different accents. That's one of the interesting things about English. It belongs to everyone who uses it. So don't feel ashamed of your accent. Work on your pronunciation. Improve the sounds that are difficult for you. But don't let your accent stop you from speaking. Topic 4. What if people laugh at you? This is another fear many learners have. What if people laugh at my English? It's a painful thought. Nobody wants to feel embarrassed. But if someone laughs at you because you're trying to learn a language, that doesn't mean your English is bad. It says more about them than it says about you. Think about it. If someone is learning your language and makes a mistake, would you laugh at them? Probably not. You might understand that they're learning. You might even respect them for trying. So why should you be ashamed of yourself? You are doing something difficult. You are speaking a language that isn't your first language. That takes courage. And if someone corrects you politely, that's actually helpful. You can learn from the mistake. But if someone makes fun of you, don't let that stop you. Their opinion doesn't decide your ability. Keep learning, keep speaking, keep improving. One day, you'll look back and realize that the thing you were once afraid of isn't scary anymore. Confidence doesn't mean you never feel nervous. Confidence means you continue even when you're nervous. Topic 5. Start with everyday English. If you want to become more confident, don't start with difficult topics. Start with your everyday life. Talk about what you know. Talk about your morning. Talk about your family. Talk about your job. Talk about your hobbies. Talk about what you ate. Talk about your plans. Talk about your weekend. These topics may seem simple, but they are extremely useful. Why? Because you already know the information. You don't have to spend time thinking about what you want to say. You only need to find the English words. For example, you know what you did yesterday. You don't need to invent a story. You can simply talk about your day. You woke up. You had breakfast. You went to work. You met someone. You came home. You watched a movie. You went to bed. These simple experiences give you many opportunities to speak English. And the more you talk about familiar topics, the more comfortable you become. Then you can slowly move to more difficult topics. You can talk about your opinions, your dreams, your experiences, your future, your beliefs, your goals. Speaking confidence grows step by step. You don't need to jump from beginner English to advanced English in one day. Start where you are. Topic 6. Don't translate every word. Another problem is translating everything in your head. Many learners think in their first language, then they translate their thoughts into English. This can make speaking very slow. For example, you have an idea. First, you think about it in your language. Then you look for the English words. Then you think about grammar. Then you check your pronunciation. And by that time, you may have already forgotten what you wanted to say. So try to make things simpler. Instead of creating long sentences in your head, use short English thoughts. If you're hungry, think, I'm hungry. If you're tired, I'm tired. If you're going outside, I'm going outside. If you're going to work, I'm going to work. If you want something, I want some water. These simple thoughts can slowly train your brain to use English more naturally. You don't need to think in complicated English. Start with simple English. Over time, your brain becomes more comfortable with it, and speaking becomes faster and easier. Topic 7. What to do when you don't know a word. One of the biggest fears in conversation is forgetting a word. You're speaking. You know what you want to say, but you can't remember one word. Then you panic. You stop. You become embarrassed. But you don't have to stop the conversation. There are other ways to communicate. You can describe the word. For example, maybe you forget the word umbrella. You can say, it's something we use when it rains. Maybe you forget the word restaurant. You can say, it's a place where people go to eat. You can also ask, what do you call this in English? Or what's the word for this? These are normal parts of communication. Even native speakers sometimes forget words. They may say, what's that word again? So don't think that forgetting one word means you can't speak English. It doesn't. You can explain. You can describe. You can ask. You can use another word. Communication is more flexible than you think. Topic 8. Learn useful phrases, not just words. Another way to become more confident is to learn phrases instead of learning individual words. For example, don't only learn the word agree. Learn, I agree with you. Or don't only learn opinion. Learn, in my opinion. Don't only learn understand. Learn, I understand what you mean. When you learn complete phrases, speaking becomes easier. You don't have to create every sentence from zero. You already have useful language ready in your mind. This is especially helpful in conversations. There are many common phrases that you can use again and again. For example, I'm not sure. I think so. I don't think so. I'm not sure what you mean. Could you say that again? That's a good question. Let me think about it. Actually, I agree with you. I've never thought about that before. These expressions can help you keep a conversation going. You don't need thousands of phrases. Start with the ones you actually use, then slowly build your collection. Topic 9. Speak slowly. Some English learners think they need to speak quickly to sound fluent, but that's not true. Speaking quickly doesn't automatically mean speaking well. If you speak too quickly, you may make more mistakes. You may forget words. Your pronunciation may become unclear, and you may become more nervous. It's completely okay to speak slowly. In fact, speaking slowly can make you sound more confident. You have time to think. You have time to choose your words. You have time to pronounce them clearly. You don't need to rush. Imagine you're talking to a friend. You don't need to finish every sentence as quickly as possible. Take a small pause, think, then continue. Natural speakers pause too. They think. They change their sentences. They sometimes say, well, actually, or let me think. That's normal conversation. So don't worry about speed. Focus on clarity. Slow and clear English is much better than fast and confusing English. Topic 10. Build confidence through small conversations. You don't need to start by having a 30-minute conversation with a native speaker. Start much smaller. Maybe speak English with a friend for 5 minutes. Maybe answer a question in your English class. Maybe order something in English. Maybe introduce yourself. Maybe leave a short voice message in English. Every small conversation is practice, and every successful conversation gives you a little more confidence. At first, you may feel nervous. That's okay. The next time, you may feel a little less nervous. Then you may speak a little longer. Then you may make fewer pauses. Then you may start enjoying conversations. This is how confidence grows, not suddenly, little by little. So don't wait for confidence before you speak. Speak first, and confidence will come from speaking. Topic 11. Don't be afraid of silence. Sometimes we are afraid of pauses. We think that if we stop for 2 or 3 seconds, the other person will think our English is bad. But pauses are completely normal. You can take a moment to think. You can say, "Well, let me think. That's an interesting question. I'm not sure, but I think." These expressions give you time. They also make your conversation sound more natural. You don't have to answer immediately. It's okay to think. It's okay to pause. It's okay to say, "I'm not sure." You are having a conversation, not taking an exam. Remember that. Topic 12. Make English part of your daily life. If you want to speak English without fear, English needs to become part of your daily life. Don't study English only for 1 hour on Sunday. Try to use a little English every day. Listen to English while you're walking. Read a short English article. Watch an English video. Write a few sentences about your day. Talk to yourself in English. Speak with a friend. Even 10 or 15 minutes can help if you do it regularly. The goal is to make English feel familiar. When English becomes part of your daily routine, it becomes less scary. You start recognizing common expressions. You start understanding different accents. You start thinking in English. And slowly, English becomes less like a school subject and more like a real language that you use. That's when speaking becomes more natural. Topic 13. Stop waiting for the perfect time. Sometimes we tell ourselves, "I'll speak English when my grammar is better. I'll speak when I know more vocabulary. I'll speak when my pronunciation improves. I'll speak when I feel confident." But there is a problem. You may wait forever. There will always be something else to improve. The perfect time doesn't exist. You have to start with the English you have now. Maybe your English is basic. That's okay. Maybe you know only simple sentences. That's okay. Maybe you make many mistakes. That's okay. Use what you know. Then learn more. Then use the new things you learn. That's how progress works. You don't need to become ready before you start. Starting is how you become ready. Topic 14. Change the way you think about mistakes. I think this is one of the most important ideas in language learning. Don't think, "I made a mistake. I'm bad at English." Think, "I made a mistake. Now I know what I need to improve." A mistake is information. It shows you something you don't know yet. Maybe you used the wrong tense. Now you know what to study. Maybe you pronounce a word incorrectly. Now you know what to practice. Maybe you don't know a word. Now you have a new word to learn. Every mistake can teach you something. So instead of being embarrassed by mistakes, try to learn from them. You don't need to love making mistakes. Nobody does. But you can stop being afraid of them. Topic 15. Your English journey is your own. Finally, remember that your English journey belongs to you. Maybe someone else learns faster than you. Maybe someone speaks better than you. Maybe someone has more time to study. That's okay. You don't know their journey, and they don't know yours. Maybe you are working. Maybe you have a family. Maybe you're studying other subjects. Maybe you have only a little time every day. Your progress may look different. That's completely fine. The important thing is that you keep moving. Even a small improvement is still improvement. If you learn one new phrase today, that's progress. If you understand a sentence that you couldn't understand last month, that's progress. If you speak English for 5 minutes without giving up, that's progress. don't underestimate small steps. Small steps become big changes over time. So, how can you speak English without fear? Don't wait for perfect English. Don't worry too much about your accent. Don't be afraid of mistakes. Don't compare yourself with other learners. Start with simple topics. Use the English you already know. Learn useful phrases. Speak slowly. Ask questions when you don't understand. And practice a little every day. Most importantly, remember this: you don't need confidence to start speaking. You build confidence by speaking. Every sentence you say is practice. Every mistake teaches you something. Every conversation makes you a little stronger. So don't wait until your English is perfect. Start with the English you have today. Speak slowly. Speak simply. And keep going. Thank you for listening to Speak English Anywhere. I hope this episode helps you feel a little more comfortable and a little more confident when you speak English. Keep listening, keep learning, and most importantly, keep speaking English without fear.